My friends, if you're anything at all like me, you've been treating the Amy Coney Barrett, nomination process with sort of a resignated, resigned. Just we're not really following it that hard, in large part because it seems like it's inevitable and terrible, and there's not much we can do about it. But I think it's important we understand the depth of this woman's potential threat to the United States of America. Now, currently, and yesterday as well, the confirmation hearings have been taking place with Amy Coney Barrett, and for the most part, this is fairly dry, cut-by-number stuff. There, you have your standard Republicans getting on their hands and knees to just absolutely lick her the fuck out. You have Democrats, sort of petulantly offering passive-aggressive criticism without substantively challenging the underlying intellectual tendencies of fascism. But every once in a while, good clips come up, and let's take a look at those good clips, okay? I want you guys to know what we're dealing with here, because it's not good. It's actually really fucking bad. Are you ready for the club clip, are you? Well, hey, look what's getting started first.
Consider Justice Scalia one of the most conservative judges in our nation's history as a mentor. You've criticized the decision written by Justice Roberts upholding the Affordable Care Act. In a 2015 NPR interview, you praised the dissent by Justice Scalia in another Affordable Care Act case, saying the dissent had the better of the legal argument. You signed your name to a public statement featured in an ad that called for an end to what the ad called the barbaric legacy of Roe v. Wade, which ran on the anniversary of the 1973 Supreme Court decision. You wrote your own dissent disagreeing with longstanding court rulings on gun safety, expressing your legal opinion that some felons should get guns, and you once discussed a dissent in the marriage equality case, asking whether it was really the Supreme Court's job to make that decision. So to me, these tracks lead us to one place, and that is that you will have the polar opposite judicial philosophy of Justice Ginsburg. And to me, that would change the balance of this court, which is already 5-4 and known as very conservative when you look back through history, to 6-3. 6-3. And that would have great repercussions for the American people.
Now, that's kind of a summary point, but it's true if you look at choose your Amy, by the way. If you look back through Barrett's history as a judge, you will find that she has essentially taken the wrong stance on effectively every issue. It's actually extraordinary. Now, there's something I want to discuss really quickly before we get further into these clips, and I need to be very serious here for a moment. Are there any law students in chat? Any lawyers, law students, anybody in that profession? If there are, and I know there are, statistically speaking, how many of you were taught about the mythical thing called originalism, or perhaps textualism? Have you heard of these things? Have you ever heard these terms? Okay. These are fantasy terms. You can find them in books of fairy tales. If you go to law school, you will be taught that there is a real thing called, it can be called originalism, it can be literalism, it can be textualism. The fundamental idea is, I am completely and totally unaffected by partisan biases, and I merely read the word of the Constitution as it is written. First of all, the purpose of a Supreme Court justice is to interpret the Constitution. If you could just read the text, then there would be no need for interpretation. You can't interpret in an unbiased way. It's called an interpretation. If there was such a thing as textualism, then the job of the SCOTUS would literally just be to read out the Constitution, and that's it. When you interpret, what you do is you use your knowledge, your legal theory, to try to ascertain the relevance a given constitutional segment has to a given case. And that process is by definition a subjective one. Find me two Supreme Court justices in all of history that have had exactly the same take on exactly the same issue. Yeah, their excuse for originalism is that they interpret the original intent of the Founding Fathers. That's subjective! What do you mean, interpret the original intent? First of all, you can amend the Constitution. The Founding Fathers are dead. They knew they would die, and they knew they were dumb, so they made the document living. You can edit it. You can change it. Slavery used to be legal. Now, it's still legal, but under different circumstances. What progress we've made. The original intent of the Founding Fathers were to make the Constitution interpretable and modular to future generations. There is no objective take here. Let me tell you, and this is advice that I would give for anyone, by the way, anyone. If a newscaster, if a politician, if a political commentator, or if a Supreme Court justice tell you they are unbiased, they are lying. And there are two possible outcomes. Either they trust that you are stupid enough that you will not know what their bias is, or they believe your bias will align with theirs, and thus, to you, it will seem unbiased. There is no such thing as unbiased legal interpretation. Judicial discretion is the name of the fucking game when it comes to the legal system. That's the whole fucking reason we have to... Why would we have judges and justices if we were just, this is what the law means, actually? So I just need to be perfectly clear here. When a person says they're an originalist or they interpret the will of the Founding Fathers, whatever, what this means functionally is that they're a massive piece of shit who will use that sort of pseudo-legal justification as a way of dismissing civil rights activism. That's it. That's it. Just to be perfectly clear, okay? It's a dog whistle for I'm anti-civil rights. Just to be perfectly clear here, okay? It just means they're a reactionary. It doesn't mean they're any more authentic in their interpretation of the Constitution. It doesn't mean that they're any better when it comes to reading legal documents. It doesn't mean that their founding intent is any more aligned with that of the Founding Fathers, which, by the way, is not the job of the Supreme Court. Interpreting the... You're a justice. Your job is to interpret the Constitution, not the fucking Founding Fathers. George Washington wasn't a Supreme Court justice. That's not their job. This is your job. Quit shuffling it off into the perceived biases of men who died 200 years ago. Okay? Who the fuck cares about them? They're dead. I piss on their graves. I imagine their graves are actually quite well guarded. I metaphorically do. I don't care about these people. Okay? And honestly, fuck the Constitution, too. Did you know the word poggers doesn't appear once in the U.S. Constitution? This is not a document that represents the will of its population. But, yeah, I know. But in all seriousness, it gets a lot worse. I'm not kidding. That's not clickbait. Get it through them clips, baby!
Roe is not a super... Allen from Harvard said, Roe is not a super precedent because calls for its overruling have never ceased, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled. It just means that it doesn't fall on the small handful of cases like Marbury versus Madison and Brown versus the board that no one questions anymore.
Is United States for Virginia military, is that super precedent?
Senator Klobuchar, if you continue to ask questions about super precedents that aren't on the list of the super precedents that I discussed in the article that are well acknowledged in the constitutional law literature, every time you ask the question, I will have to say that I can't grade it.
Okay. Well, I am then left with looking at the tracks of your record and where it leads the American people. And I think it leads us to a place that's going to have severe repercussions for them.
So to be clear, Amy Coney Barrett is not saying that she will vote to revoke Roe v. Wade if given the chance. She's just written articles about how the barbaric legacy of Roe v. Wade leaves a trail of bloodied fetuses in the wake of every, expectant mother. And also that that Roe v. Wade does not establish a super precedent that would prevent it from being overturned in a future case. So she won't say that's what she wants to do. She'll just say that's what she wants to do, but using different language. Listen to this.
Is it illegal to intimidate voters at the polls?
Senator Klobuchar, I can't characterize the facts in a hypothetical situation, and I can't apply.
Hold on. She is a justice. She can't interpret the facts in a hypothetical situation. That is her fucking job. If you can't entertain hypotheticals as a fucking Supreme Court justice, you are not qualified for the job. That is literally your fucking job. You ever heard that? I hear that, by the way, from the conservatives that I debate. You know, that's like Sargon tier shit. Like, I don't do hypothetical. Because what they know, hypotheticals are an exercise at isolating given ideological variables so you can better understand a subject. Conservatives hate hypotheticals because they're a tool that you can use to understand things. I remember there was a philosopher some 200 years ago who actually attributed the intellectual development post-Enlightenment to humanity's increasing ability to recognize the importance of hypotheticals as a concept. Like this is up there with like discovering fire for early man.
Apply the law to a hypothetical set of facts. I can only decide cases as they come to me, litigated by parties on a full record after fully engaging precedent, talking to colleagues, writing an opinion. And so I can't answer questions like that.
Okay, well, I'll make it easier. 18 USC 594 outlaws anyone who intimidates, threatens, coerces, or attempts to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any other person for the purpose of interfering with the right of such other person to vote. This is a law that has been on the books for decades. Judge Barrett.
So voter intimidation is by definition illegal. It literally says voter intimidate, like to intimidate or to attempt to intimidate a voter is illegal. That's a crime. So for Barrett to refuse to answer that question, in a time where President Trump is encouraging his followers to be poll watchers at voting stations across the country, is pretty telling, I would say.
Constitution give the President of the United States the authority to unilaterally delay a general election under any circumstances. Does federal law?
Well, Senator, if that question ever came before me, I would need to hear arguments from the litigants and read briefs and consult with my law clerks and talk to my colleagues and go through the opinion writing process. So, you know, if I give off-the-cuff answers, then I would be basically a legal pundit. And I don't think we want judges to be legal pundits. I think we want judges to approach cases thoughtfully and with an open mind.
So the actual answer is yes. It is the president does not have the power to unilaterally delay the election. That power is designated to Congress. That's just a factual question. You can actually learn that one in a book. It's a question with a right and a wrong answer. Keep in mind, there are people in chat right now who are saying no justice in a hearing would answer questions hypothetically. She isn't being asked to adjudicate hypothetical cases. She's being asked factual questions with yes or no answers. If she was asked, is murder illegal? And she was like, murder is by definition illegal. Murder is a legal term that is illegal. No, the president does not have the ability to unilaterally delay the election. Interesting, though, that she would refuse to answer that question given the state of the current presidential election and what Trump seems to be planning on doing. Everything about her as a judge is designed to be a Trojan horse for Christian fundamentalism. She's, an easy package to sell as a concept. She's cute. She's kind of mom-esque, American voters like that. She comes off very measured in how she answers things. She doesn't come off like a crazy lunatic, it's true. But everything that she's done, everything that she's said is indicative of such a strong underlying sinister political motive. But you don't have to take it just from the confirmation hearing. Judge Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court, has reportedly ruled in favor of corporations over people in 3 out of 4 cases during her time as a federal appeals judge. An analysis released last week by watchdog group Accountable.us found that Barrett ruled in favor of corporations in 76% of 55 cases she heard during her time on the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. The group found Barrett sided with corporate interests in 42 of the cases and people in 11, while 2 rulings were found to be neutral. Listen to this one. In one case, the report said that Barrett ruled protections against age discrimination for employees do not extend to job applicants. Let me read that for you again. She ruled protections against age discrimination for employees do not extend to job applicants. Quick legal refresher, age discrimination fits under the same category as racial discrimination in the sense that to do so is to violate an American citizen's protected class. Nationality, ethnicity, age, race, these kind of things, you know? So to say that it doesn't apply to job applicants means she has legally ruled as a judge in a federal court circuit that the equivalent of an employer cannot discriminate against their black employees, but if you're black and you show up with a job application, they can say fuck off, darky. And that's legal. That's literally the legal interpretation of what she's saying. That those protections don't extend to you as a job applicant. I cannot. So I admit I'm not a lawyer. I cannot fathom any legal defense for this interpretation. That is insane to me. That is insane to me. I can't believe it. But hey, you know. Another case saw Barrett rule in favor of a major pharmaceutical company after a woman who was forced to undergo a hysterectomy after having a faulty intrauterine birth control device implanted. So, the company implanted a faulty device, intrauterine? Oh my God, intrauterine. I can't believe I didn't. There we go. Intrauterine. I was reading intrao. There we go. The company implanted a broken machine into her body, which forced her to undergo a hysterectomy, and Barrett found this was a case where she should rule in favor of the pharmaceutical company. The report noted Barrett had refused to hear a case concerning racial segregation. On that, another judge had said legalized the separate but equal doctrine. Her entire legal career is I mean probably about as far right, possibly more far right than Scalia's. And she is just being, I have to remind you guys, it feels like lib shit to go over this again, but she is just being shoved into the court at the last possible second because this is Trump's last chance at long-lasting relevance. The election's probably going to be a fucking farce. He said that he wants to have a Supreme Court judge in there quickly because they will need the Supreme Court to rule on electoral disputes when it comes to tossing out ballots. This is such an unbelievably transparent sham. And unfortunately, there's basically nothing we can do about it at all. I can't imagine any way in which the hearings could be delayed to the point where she isn't appointed. She's going to be in there for 30 years, folks. And there's really nothing we can do about it unless we want to go the full nuclear option, pack the court down the line. But I thought it was important we all recognize just how fucking bad she is. Oh, and I had these clips too because they're very funny. Also, very, very important. Remember Lindsey Graham? He's the senator who was crying on Hannity's show a little while ago about not getting enough fundraising to defeat Jamie Harrison. This is at a Senate confirmation hearing.
Let's go to Citizens United. To my good friend, Senator Whitehouse, me and you are going to come closer and closer about regulating money because I don't know what's going on out there, but I can tell you there's a lot of money being raised in this campaign. I'd like to know where the hell some of it's coming from. But that's not your problem.
Now, I know this is but a Senate confirmation hearing, and this bears no relevance whatsoever to my Senate race, but Do you ever wonder where all this dark money is coming from that keeps being delivered to the fine, dark-skinned gentlemen running against me? I must admit, I am more than a little concerned about this financial aid, this one might call it affirmative action my opponent seems to be receiving. If you think the race-baiting jokes are bad, just...
As Board of Education super president, is that you're not aware of any effort to go back to the good old days of segregation by a legislative body. Is that correct?
There we go. And that was from the same hearing, by the way. Good old days of segregation. These people can't keep their... I keep saying this. Nobody believes me when I say it, but if it was legislatively possible, the Republican Party would vote to legalize slavery. If it was done state by state, some of the states in this country would go back to slavery. Undeniably. Absolutely. Unquestionably. Absolutely. Obviously a joke. I don't think that was a joke. I've listened to a lot of Lindsey Graham because he's a very funny man, and perhaps not in the way that he's hoping for. I don't think that was a joke. I don't think those are the types of jokes that guy makes. I think he just wanted to say good old because it happened in the past and it just kind of meshed together a little bit too conveniently there. Unironically, can we hear it one more time? Yeah, sure, go for it, folks. It's really funny.
Brown versus Board of Education super president, is that you're not aware of any effort to go back to the good old days of segregation by a legislative body. Is that correct?
There we go. Nice. It's just a joke, you know. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's a joke, except, you know, a ton of people were going to listen to that and unironically support it. It's just a joke, you know. Yeah, it's just a voluntary transaction of labor. There you go. I doubt we would ever go back to full-on legal slavery, but it would basically be slavery with extra steps. Dude, the United States of America is not far off from it, honestly. People talk about slavery being abolished. Motherfucker, we use prisoners like slaves. You know the new Jim Crow dealio, that book? It's a great book. Seriously. Much in the same way that police are derivative from slave patrols, they fill the same basic economic, social, and political function that slave patrols did back in the day. Nowadays, we just use prison populations the same way we used to use slaves. Pretty easy, you know? Oh, so slavery's illegal now. Cool, well then we'll have people sharecrop, and they'll make basically nothing from it, and we'll get basically the same benefits we got from slavery, and oh, look at that, sharecropping's not viable anymore. Okay, well what if we implement the drug war right at the same time black people are legally getting first-class citizenship? And, oh, look at that. Just looks like it's all black people getting jailed. Oh, it's crazy. And Nixon didn't intend that when he specifically targeted populations and drugs that would maximize the amount of black people and hippies in jail. You know, that's crazy. Oh, well, they're prisoners. I mean, using prison labor for essentially free, it's not slavery. I mean, they are, you know, trapped by the state with no say whatsoever in how they get to live their lives, and you do exploit their labor and then sell it to private corporations so that they can make your you know, your make your goods a little bit cheaper, and the state gets some kickbacks, and you can use them to fight fires even though they have no adequate training or protection, and they can die out there and nobody will miss them. You know, it's just it's not a big deal. You know, Vosh, is this legit? Amy Coney Barrett confirmation Supreme Court N-word. Amy Coney Barrett ruled using the N-word does not make a work environment hostile. Yes! Yeah, I remember this. Now, mind you, so wait, hold on. I don't want to throw water on the parade here. Technically, this is a fair legal ruling because she says that you need more evidence to prove the workplace was hostile. But in the context of this court case, I would say this is a terrible ruling. So the additional context needed would probably be the person being called the N-word was black, or it was being used in a racially derogatory way. Because I don't think if a black dude in a workplace says the N-word on his own, just because he's using it, that's enough to make a workplace hostile. Like if I'm working with a black guy and he's like, man, these N-words ain't shit, or something, I don't know. I don't think that'd make the workplace hostile. However, that was not what happened here. You know, in the ruling, Miss Barrett said while she found the use of the word abhorrent, the plaintiff in the case had not made a strong enough case that harassment was occurring. How much information is actually contained here? Hold on. They're not, this article doesn't have like any information on the circumstances of the case, so it's hard for me to say. As a general rule, if this was being brought to a court case, I'm pretty sure it's probably a hostile workplace environment. Yeah. What are we looking at? Oh shit!
Freedom. What are the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment?
Speech, religion, press, assembly. Speech, press, religion, assembly. I don't know. What am I missing?
Redress or protest.
Okay.
Her husband wasn't there for her to ask what the 5th one was. Oof. You know, this is a subject for another time, but given the fact that she's basically said that she, like, asks her husband for permission for everything, like he guides her, is it... Here's a hot question to you guys, okay? Should it be allowed to appoint a high-level politician or, like, a judicial appointment or anything like that if you're not really appointing them, you're just kind of appointing and platforming the values of another unelected, unappointed person who happens to, like, sleep with her? It's kind of a weird one, isn't it, when you think about it? Yeah, it's really, really weird when you think about it. You can get some... I generally feel the same way about very religious people, too. Not gonna lie, you're sounding a little conspiratorial calling her a Trojan horse. How? She's absolutely a Trojan horse for Christian fundamentalism. That's undeniable. But when it comes to, like, the judicial... I guess, autonomy of a Supreme Court appointment, I would really, really like it if I could trust their opinions to come from them, because they're the one who's scrutinized and has the legal expertise, and not from other people around them. Christian fundamentalists are, to use the technical term, fucking insane. This was the same argument people used against JFK because he was Catholic. Do you think it can be true that an argument can be incorrect in one case, but then correct in another case? Like, do you think that's possible? You think it might be more likely that, like, a cult-like Christian fundamentalist who clearly defers to her husband on a ton of matters might be more deferent to the husband than JFK was to the fucking Pope, you know? Like, let's be real here. Every president is, in some way or another, beholden to American religious fundamentalism. That's pretty much just an inextricable part of American political culture, okay? Even if you're Democrat, all of these presidential candidates have to simp a little bit for this. The evangelicals only vote for Republicans, but even if you're not Republican, even if you're just a Democrat, there's still, like, a really, really, really strong political weight there. She's explicitly said she does what her husband says. Massive difference. Yeah, of course. Just remember, folks, listen, I'm here for progressivism, but don't go girl bossing your way into defending far-right political hacks as they get appointed to the Supreme Court justice. Oh, here we go. Man, how many clips are there? These people.
By the United States or any state on account of race. 15th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race. For an originalist and a textualist, that is clear text as I see it, but when asked whether or not the president has any authority to unilaterally deny that right to vote for a person based on race or even gender, are you saying you can't answer that question?
Senator, I just referenced the 14th and 15th Amendments, the same one that you just repeated back to me, that do prohibit discrimination on the basis of race in voting. So as I said, I don't know how else I can say it, the Constitution contains provisions that prohibit discrimination on the basis of race in voting.
But whether a president can unilaterally deny, you're not going to answer yes or no.
Well, Senator, you've asked a couple different questions about what the president might be able to unilaterally do, and I think that I really can't say anything more than I'm not going to answer hypotheticals.
She will not say anything that could conceivably come back against Trump in the future. Anything. Should the president be allowed to, say 20 years ago, go to an island and have sex with children? Is that legal to rape children on a billionaire island? Well, I'm not going to answer any hypotheticals. I don't know if that is or is not legal. You know, it could be either way. I don't know. Like, she won't say anything that could possibly impugn Trump.
It strains originalism. If the clear wording of the Constitution establishes a right and you will not acknowledge it.
Well, Senator, it would strain the canons of conduct, which don't permit me to offer off-the-cuff reactions or any opinions outside of the judicial decision-making process.
So keep in mind, she's not being asked for interpretation or opinion, just the factual letter of the law that currently exists. It's not an interpretation thing. Law answers this question. It's already there. It's currently, presently there. But she knows Trump might fuck with it in the future, so she can't say anything.
It would strain Article 3, which prevents me from deciding legal issues outside the context of cases and controversies.
This isn't a legal issue. It's a yes/no question. Can you imagine this bitch on like a fucking test? You know, like in college or something. Like answering yes or no on this question: is murder illegal? Would strain my legal responsibility. Like I like she's so clearly incapable of saying anything that could come back around to impugn Trump. Rule 63, Michael Tracy. Oh, shit, yeah. We do get Michael Tracy vibes, don't we, here? Like, fucking, like, little weasel who can't answer questions because they don't want to upset the base they're grifting to. Yeah. My rad-lib parents dismiss all of this by saying we should just hope for the best from her. Oh, yeah, well, of course. Liberals just see this and they look at girl boss, you know? Like, a lot of liberals are just going to look at her and they're going to be like, that's a strong woman. Isn't this the same Senate confirmation hearing where Ted Cruz described birth control as an abortion device? That happened, right? I don't have a clip for that, but that happened, right? Dude, they are 100% coming for your birth control. Folks, here's my suggestion to you guys now, okay? All right, are you ready for it? Never have sex again, okay? That's the most okay. Perfect abstinence. It's time to practice for the communist utopia. Don't ever fuck again. It doesn't matter, even if you both have vaginas, even if you both have penises, don't fuck again, because you will get pregnant. One of you will get pregnant. It's going to happen. We are entering a period of hyperfertility in this country, okay? Listen, it's going to be like fucking Catholic Ireland circa 1927, okay? We are going to be just anytime, if you look, we're going to need to segregate the kids into boys and girls middle schools because even looking at each other for too long is going to start fertilizing eggs, okay? You guys, okay, just be careful. Be careful. Now, please end this tortured segment, okay? Please, God. Holy shit.